Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the A24 Archive. This is the segment on my channel where I go through A24's entire filmography, from the good to the bad to the absolutely horrendous. And today we're going to get into the absolutely horrendous territory, and the movie I'm going to be discussing is called Barely Lethal. Barely Lethal is directed by Kyle Newman, a 16-year-old international assassin yearning for a normal adolescence, fakes her death, and enrolls as a senior in a suburban high school. She quickly learns that being popular can be more painful than getting waterboarded. Getting waterboarded probably would have been more fun than watching this movie, in all honesty. This was a miserable fucking nightmare, which is, you know, kind of depressing because I really like Hailee Steinfeld. I think she's an incredibly talented actress. I just recently watched the Dickinson TV series on Apple TV Plus, and it was phenomenal. Her performance was great. She's done an amazing job in her career. The Edge of 17 is an incredible coming-of-age film, and this movie just suffers from being crap as far as the script is horrible, the performances are not great, and it feels just like a really formulaic Disney Channel original movie. And I saw beforehand, I believe this was produced by DirecTV as well, and I noticed there's a few films in A24's catalog where they've paired up with DirecTV. I think Revenge of the Green Dragons was another one, and it was absolutely abysmal. But this story is, Hailee Steinfeld is in this facility where from a young age these girls are trained to be essentially like Bond agents, where they're like raised up to be killing machines, and they do all this stuff for this organization ran by Samuel L. Jackson. And Hailee Steinfeld, it shows really early on, she takes interest in like regular life. She reads like Teen Vogue, and she's trying to understand what it means to actually be a kid, and she's not given that opportunity. So one day she goes on this mission to stop Jessica Alba, who's the main villain in this, from committing some heinous act. And in the midst of it, she falls into this river, and they think that she's dead. And so she takes the opportunity to sign herself up for this foreign exchange program where she's from Canada. And she meets this family and starts going to normal high school and all of the shenanigans that ensue. This movie's just really bad. The writing isn't interesting. Hailee Steinfeld's performance is pretty bad. She's likable, and I think that helps that she's such a likable person, but the movie is just so unlikable. It's like the same tropes that you see in these type of movies. I think of, like, even in my youth, a film like Agent Cody Banks or whatever, where it's like pairing up this idea of kids becoming these super spies and then having to interact with the real world. And it's been done so many times that just watching it, it was like I called out every single beat, and none of it was good. There's this period where Hailee Steinfeld tries to befriend the young girl who she's being fostered by while she's in that home, and like there's this guy who literally assaults Hailee Steinfeld at the beginning, like grabbing her ass and saying like horrible stuff to her, and he's just a piece of shit. And they try to give him like a redemptive arc to date that other girl, and you're like, why is this even in this movie? Like, gross. And the dialogue is just terrible. And they introduce Thomas Mann's character, who's supposed to be like the nerdy guy, but you know, eventually she'll end up with the nerd when she finds out that the handsome jock or the handsome guy that's in the band in this movie is not all that he's cracked up to be. And it's just every formulaic thing that you've ever seen, which sometimes formulaic isn't bad, but this was just painful. I think it was like an hour and a half runtime, and about halfway through the movie I was just like, can we please wrap this up? I already know how it's gonna end. I don't need to watch any more of it. And that's a problem when you do something that's so formulaic for so long. Add some new spice or some zest into it to keep it interesting, because you know, there's movies over the years that have done that before. I mean, you look at one of my favorite films of 2022 so far, Robert Eggers' The Northman. It's essentially just pulling from Shakespeare. The plot is literally 100% copy and pasted from Shakespeare, but the thing is, he does it in such a unique way that builds this world and develops these characters, fleshes out all these little side arcs, does all this really interesting stuff that, like, yes, you understand the direction at which the story is going to go, but because of everything that's put into the movie, because it's visually engaging, because the actors are so good, it keeps you immersed. If you're going to do that with this type of a movie, at least add something fresh to it. Keep us interested. This is by no means the worst A24 film I've watched. I've watched some things that are way worse than this, but it's not even worth your time. And that's the thing, like when I'm going through these films, I'm trying to use this series to recommend films in A24's catalog that I think are actually worth sitting through. And the unfortunate part is, this is not worth your time whatsoever. So have you seen Barely Lethal? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was abysmal. It adds nothing new into this genre of films, and it's just really bland. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.